All right. It's the third podcast of the Mostly Nonsense podcast. Let's get to it, man.
So let's start with our research on cybersecurity. How'd that go?
Research.
Oh, zero research?
Yeah, man. Zero research got done. Very busy doing other things.
Oh, I was being so productive.
Oh, buddy, very productive.
I mean, my farm on Stardew Valley was in the newspaper, so.
Oh, buddy.
I got second place.
Let's go,
in the whatever.
man.
I don't even know what it was, but I don't know what you do. What's your farm looking like?
Oh, very productive.
Didn't
Very
you tell me
productive farm.
you stopped playing that game when you had to talk to all the people?
It was like 10 minutes of walking around, can't find anybody.
I'm
They're all
missing
in their houses.
everybody's
They all went to
birthday.
bed, man, and I couldn't enter. The houses were locked. I couldn't break in and talk to them.
I've missed every single birthday.
Yeah.
I'm just growing weed and I don't care about anything else.
You can grow weed in that game?
Wheat.
Oh, I thought you said you're growing weed
No,
in the game.
not weed.
Okay. All right, well, let's see. First, we can get done with my talking point, because I only had one thing on my list today.
Okay.
Russia suing Twitch. Do you know
Oh.
Twitch, the video game streaming platform?
Yeah, that's where all the girls are in the swimming pools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that site. So there was a guy who was a former League of Legends pro who Twitch kicked off their site for some reason. He was something like that. And so he's the son of like some oil, whatever, one of these like super rich guys in Russia. And he successfully sued Twitch for $20 million, which is like more than all the money times 10, essentially.
How did he win that?
It's because Russia did the same thing to Google a while ago. It's like a compounding interest thing. So like I'm pretty sure the way it worked was that they get a crazy, unreasonable thing that they need to pay, but because it's compounding interest, it just gets even the amount of money they owe gets even crazier within a very short period of time, right?
Okay.
And they did the same thing to Google. I don't know why they're doing it. I'm sure there's some sort of like politically motivated reason.
So how much money did they sue them for?
Well,
in what court? In a
Russian.
Oh, in a Russian
Yes,
court.
This is in Russia.
So like, what's the legal implication of that? You think like
Basically,
nothing?
it's corrupt. 20 million is more than all the money. The guy had only ever made like $20,000.
But it's in a Russian court, so does Twitch have to pay that?
I think that they just have to leave Russia.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know exactly what the implications are, but I think it's just a way of forcing these companies out of Russia. And if they don't do that, then they can just like take all their assets essentially to fund the war in Ukraine.
I can't find any reputable like. This is Polygon, and their oligarch's son got Twitch fined more than all the money in the world in Russian courts.
20 million.
Nanillion?
No, I didn't even know it was a number.
That's crazy.
I've heard of like Google Plex and shit like that, but million I had never heard of before.
Is that in Russian rubles or?
I think even in Russian rubles, it would still be like the most money ever.
Like if you convert it to USD, it'd probably be like $35.
Yeah, $35.
What's the ruble doing?
Oh, it's probably terrible.
So what do you think about that, Ryan?
I think that we should not go to Russia.
I've always wanted to go to Russia, actually.
Really?
Like before the whole 2014 and all that, especially before the...
Oh, actually, I remember you telling me that, yeah.
I've always wanted to go to Moscow.
Yeah. Why is that?
I don't know why.
I thought you said you wanted to see the history and stuff.
I mean, like the pictures make it look cool.
Oh.
Also, they have Vladimir Lenin's pickled corpse in like a museum there.
Really?
I saw, on God.
That's insane. Where was it that you wanted to go for the history? Maybe it wasn't Russia.
Well, I want to go to Greece.
Oh, okay.
They have Vladimir Lenin's pickled corpse.
I was in Greece for a day, and they have good vegetables. That's what I gained from the trip.
Dressed in some kind of black suit, Vladimir Lenin, the first...
Austere. It's just like
austere.
a description.
Oh, okay. The first Soviet leader looks to be anyways, yeah. He is a preserved body of a man who died 92 years ago. It's carefully
pretty
monitored
crazy.
and re-embalmed regularly.
Wow. What do you
Yeah.
think? What do you think he looks like? Just like his flesh coming off, like.
No. Yeah, he looks like a wax figure, apparently.
Yeah.
But
Kinda crazy.
I just kind of want to go see, like, wow, that's wild.
Like, how good would that kind of embalming process even be? over time?
I don't like the idea of being embalmed. I'd rather just be cremated or...
Yeah, I would too. To be
If it
honest.
wasn't like a health issue, you could just put me in the ground, like, straight up.
Yeah.
Vladimir Lenin, like, body. He looks like that. Oh my God, wow.
Kind of looks like a vampire.
That's, wow. Oh my God.
Getting ready for him to rise again. Yeah, man. But yeah, that was my talking point for today. I don't know really what the implications are of something like that.
I guess Twitch has to leave Russia.
Well, yeah, actually, I don't know.
Oh no, yeah, they could pay.
If it's a fine, yeah, they
a
could
couple
pay
nillion or whatever.
Yeah. If it's a fine, like, what kind of recourse is there in the future for them, right?
I don't know.
Because it's kind of like scaring away business.
Yeah, but like, I don't think the people in charge of that country care about that.
Yeah, that's true.
Because didn't they appropriate a bunch of like foreign businesses there?
Yeah, they did. They took like, well, remember when the Ukraine war just started and businesses were pulling out? They started just operating them themselves, basically.
Yeah, I don't even think businesses, like, I think before, from what I remember, businesses were talking about pulling out, and then like Russia just appropriated all of them.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. They operated
the state
them
appropriated
themselves,
them.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. It's wild. It's
Not
not kind of crazy. It is crazy.
Like if Russian McDonald's is like called something
Happened
else.
with Starbucks too, didn't it?
Probably all the American companies.
Yeah, man. All right. So what do you have on your paper? Because that was.
I mean, when we were supposed to be in the library looking at cybersecurity stocks, I did not do that.
Yep.
And I was just looking at like. So what I started doing was looking at the tech companies, and I'm like looking at their stock growth post COVID. And I was like, damn, maybe these are overvalued. I don't know. The numbers are very high,
like
right?
It's a lot of speculation because of the AI stuff. And because every tech company is claiming that they're like doing lots of stuff in the field of AI.
But the price exploded like post COVID, not even because of even before AI, the price was incredibly high.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. Was AI a big deal during COVID? I can't remember. No, eh?
I mean, like, I'm sure people were probably talking about it, but like, ChatGPT came out after COVID.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. Shortly after COVID.
No.
It was like because I remember being in school. Oh, but I guess it was during COVID that I was in school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's the whole tech thing. Like, I guess it's a bit of a bubble. You could say
it could be. But then I was like, fuck it, man. Let's buy Imperial Oil. Oh, yeah, I wonder. I did a paper trade. I bought Imperial Oil. I wonder how that's doing.
Cool. Have they, when you say tech, do you think when you say the energy sector, there's like a bunch of different subcategories under it. Is there a bunch of different subcategories when you say tech? Because I can think of like cybersecurity could be one. You could have like AI could be another one, right?
I'm sure there are subcategories.
Because it would make it easier, because whenever, like, I don't know, like Warren Buffett's always saying, oh, you got to know your spots and stick to them. When you say tech, or when I say tech at least, that's such a wide field that I feel like it's impossible to know your spot, because there's just too much to know.
Yeah.
Right? So you kind of need to narrow it down more, for me personally at least. You're a bit more tech savvy than I am, but, well, quite a bit more tech savvy.
I made 15 cents USD.
Oh, let's go.
On Imperial Oil.
Nice.
I didn't make anything, actually. It's a paper trade.
Yeah, I know.
But I was looking at even Imperial Oil when I got this idea. Because, like, look at this company.
Yep.
Hold on. Like, just even this company, for instance, has exploded post-COVID. Okay?
Yeah.
So I was like, if it's tech stocks and it's even commodities.
Well, the economy was pretty good post-COVID, wasn't it? I mean, like, it was very low unemployment rate, right? Companies seem to be making a lot of money.
Yeah, but like his productivity skyrocketed post-COVID. Because this is supposed to, like, stock prices are supposed to reflect productivity, no?
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, if productivity hasn't skyrocketed,
but it's not only supposed to reflect productivity; it's supposed to reflect future.
Yeah, like growth expectations.
Future earnings, right? Because usually they say the stock price is a reflection of what people think the company will make in the entirety of its lifetime. But that's kind of I don't know. I feel like that's a bad way to think about it. Maybe it should only reflect like what people think it'll make in the next like 5-10 years.
This is the 2008.
Yeah.
Downward trajectory from 2008 all the way to COVID. This year is COVID, and then just green candles and fucking enormous green
Yeah.
candles for Imperial Oil, for example.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe the whole thing, like, is it possible the whole thing is overvalued
Well, what percentage increase does that represent
from
like the COVID to then?
we can
Like
do a
since COVID,
very
I guess.
rough calculation. Very, very rough calculation. This represents a 303% growth.
Yes, that maybe is a bit of a,
Yeah, that maybe
maybe it represents a bubble,
possibly.
possibly overvalued.
So I was like, how could you test?
Nvidia growing over 3,000. Nvidia. How do
Is
you?
it not NVIDIA?
I always just say Nvidia. I don't know, whatever. You know which company I'm talking about.
The
Them
chips,
having
people.
3,000% growth over 5 years just seems like a crazy stat. You know what I
What
mean?
percent growth?
3,000.
Mm.
Right, or at least in their stock price, I'm pretty sure.
For them, I don't know, because aren't they? They're the ones designing. They have like a market. They've cornered the market for designing chips used in AI.
There's still, I think it's still a lot of speculation in there.
Well,
in the
100%.
thing, like with AI,
Yeah.
like if one paper, the DeepSeek paper, can come out and cause their stock to crash by so much, then it's just tons of speculation going on. But I guess we won't see until the market's correct. I mean, we keep on seeing, or at least I keep on seeing articles talking about how these big investors are pulling out of stock and going into bonds or just going into cash or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
So I started doing research on like how would you tell if the entire market is overvalued? Because
Yeah.
certainly it could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and I guess the thought process is during COVID, the counter-cyclical financial planning and the banks, like I'm pretty sure the Fed cut their rates. I don't know, but I know that the Bank of Canada cut rates. I'm almost certain the Fed cut rates.
I don't
The
know.
Fed must have cut rates during COVID. There's
Well,
no
you
way.
remember when the rates were going up and it was like a big deal in the news?
Yes.
So
In Canada or the U.S.?
in the U.S. Here too, though, I think.
I
'Cause
think
we
for
kinda-
here
we
it's
kinda-
worse
well,
because
we kind of track them, right? We kind of copy them in a lot of.
We have to, yeah.
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah, because the thought process is that if they change their rates in such a way that it's incentivizes people to invest capital, no one's going to invest capital in Canada
Yeah.
because the U.S. is right there and it's 10 times larger. So we have to copy what they do. Yeah, they
Makes
did.
sense.
Of course, they cut rates during COVID. So the idea is like the counter-cyclical financial planning, which is the government giving people money in many ways. Not just like literally giving them money, although that is part of it, but any way that the government increases consumer spending or does wealth transfers or whatever, or like tax cuts, that's all counter-cyclical financial planning. And then the banks cutting rates put in so much money into the market that they flooded into stocks in all categories. So like, could the entire market be overvalued? And I found this article, and they're talking about these, like ratios you can see to determine if the market is overvalued, like historically.
Yeah.
So, for example, they have the Crestmont Research P&E ratio.
Okay. What does it represent?
Give me a moment.
Or is it just the P&E ratio done by Crestmont Research?
No, it's supposed to be P&A normalized to the Crestmont Research uses P&E methodology, but yes, but what the fuck is it? Say something, Ryan.
No silent spots in the podcast.
No silence. Yeah, is the P&E the current normalized P&E? It's supposed to be normalized either to inflation or to business cycles.
Oh. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what I think. I think everything's overvalued, but that's just because it's been such a good run for so long, right? I mean, you get a bit of a correction during COVID with like that downward turn that happened at the beginning, but it bounced back so quickly.
But you know, there are times when the S&P 500 performs poorly for 10 years. Like, it's part of like normal cycles,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And really from the end of World War II, the U.S. was the number one economy in the world, and now, like, you know, you can make a very good case that not that they're number two, but they have like a very stiff competition. So there's no reason to expect for certain, on God, the S&P just will go up in value for all of time.
Yeah.
So based on February S&P 500 average of daily closes, the Crestmont P&E ratio of 40.8 is 169% above its arithmetic mean, 179% above its geometric mean, and is in the 99th percentile of its 14 plus decade series.
Okay, so that's a little extreme.
It's pretty high.
Yeah,
pretty high, man.
Yeah.
And
going back to your comments about the S&P 500 not going up forever.
Theoretically.
Because when they took the US dollar off of gold.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Very
Do you think
long.
that damaged them long term?
I think there are a lot of good reasons to have a fiat currency and not be hard pegged to gold, particularly because you have a lot of freedom in controlling your monetary policy. I don't think it was a bad move. I mean, but I'm not an expert. Yeah. I'm not obviously.
What about just having a gold reserve?
They do have a gold reserve.
But they had. Now, maybe this is wrong, but I was under the assumption that they had a much bigger gold reserve before, when they were still when they still had gold, when it wasn't a fiat currency. I don't
probably.
Know
I mean, I don't know for certain. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Has the U.S. gold reserve shrunk over time since 1940s? Probably, maybe, could be. You know, there's never been a fucking audit of the U.S. gold reserves. Do you know that?
I didn't know that.
Now you know that, man.
That's kind of crazy.
No one's audited that.
Well, during World War II, before the U.S. joined the war, they were making a lot of money, a lot of gold. They were getting a lot of gold from Europe. That's how they built up a lot of their reserve, because they were selling all the weapons to Europe and Canada and whatever, and they were selling it for gold. And so all the gold reserves they had over there at the time, a lot of it got transferred to the U.S. as far as I'm aware.
I see.
Right, and so that's why they had so much gold for such a long time. I don't know if that's changed by now or not. I mean, with no audit, it'd be hard to tell.
I mean, no one knows what's in there.
Yeah.
There's never been an audit. That's so crazy to me, anyways.
I just think it was such a smart move. Not necessarily good for the rest of the world, but it was such a smart move by the president at the time during World War II to not let them join the war until the very last minute, in terms of building up America, the U.S.'s power.
Yeah, what's that ship the ship? You know why U.S. entered World War II,
Pearl
right?
Harbor?
No, brother, not Pearl Harbor. Wasn't it maybe I'm getting confused with World War One.
Oh, I don't know anything about World War
Yeah,
One.
I'm getting confused with World War One. Pearl Harbor.
I don't know anything about World War One.
Well, it was you know what was weird about World War One? Why would they call it World War One? You know, and then World War II.
No,
were they expecting a trilogy?
They only call it they called it World War One afterwards.
Yeah, I get it.
What did they call it? They call it
the Great War.
End all wars.
I thought it was the Great War.
Well, they probably called it that too.
But hold on, look at this, right? This is the year 2000.
Yep.
This is the S&P, by the way. This is the year 2000, and we see a decline all the way to the year 2003, and then even.
But does that not represent the tech bubble popping? Or that represent the tech bubble popping?
No, the tech bubble popped in. Did it not pop in 2000, 2001?
I thought it was around there.
So this is
that would represent the recession at the time.
Yes, but look, even when it approached this current high set in the year 2000, all the way in 2007, it never surpassed it. So if you had bought the S&P 500 in the year 2000, you would have been basically at zero profit all the way until 2013.
Okay, but that represents a zero, a short period of time.
That's not. It's 13 years.
Short period of time if you're talking long-term investments.
That's 13 years.
13 years, but that's assuming you're not been making money through regular work and investing throughout the time as well. Because if you had a bit of cash reserves, then when it dropped, you could have bought in a bunch.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. I'm just using as a point to make that. Look at this.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This is the whole thing. I think is kind of. I'm not an expert, but I don't want to buy any stocks.
It does look crazy when you compare it to the other peaks.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it goes upwards. For the podcast listeners, it goes up a lot all at once.
Okay. So this is the year 2009. This is the housing market, the crash, the global financial crisis.
Yeah.
From that low in 2009 to today, or to the all-time high last week or last month, that's a 723% growth.
So if you were to look at what was causing that growth,
Well, the USA is the number one uncontested global number one
no, but
economy
what I'm getting at is what percentage of that growth is represented purely by the tech sector? Probably a pretty large percentage of it, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, who knows?
Because 2008 was like just the beginning of like Apple and, you know what I'm saying? Like these big tech companies.
But I still think the whole market could be overvalued because I just showed you Imperial Oil.
Well, no, I'm not saying the whole market's not overvalued. I'm saying how much of that growth is purely based off of the tech sector.
I'm not sure, but maybe a lot of it.
Yeah, I'd be willing to agree with that. Maybe a lot of it.
So what do? I don't want to put any money in stocks right now.
Yeah.
You got to buy bonds.
Buy bonds, GICs.
GICs, no. Dude, I don't think I can say this because I signed non-disclosure agreements. But I hate GICs because I was working at a particular place that was taking care of the affairs of people who were not able to take care of their own affairs because they were deemed legally insane or they were orphans.
Yep.
And this was during COVID. And we were putting their money in like low return GICs. But this was when, remember transitory inflation?
No.
Remember when inflation was like 9%?
Yep.
Yeah. So like inflation was absolutely completely demolishing their returns on GICs like 4 times over.
Oh jeez.
Like 5 times over. And I was like, this is so sad that we're doing this for these people.
Yeah. Do you not think that it's better than like it's better than if nothing had been done, right? Like what was the argument for putting it in GICs?
Well, we had to take care of like so many people. It was a. I don't know.
I guess you can't really.
Anything.
Yeah, you can't really talk with the.
I don't know, like what
with the
non-disclosure
Yeah,
agreements.
don't worry about it. Yeah.
So basically, it was too many people to like case by case make the proper financial decisions for. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know enough about GICs. I guess I just assumed that they're like one of the most safe.
I have a bad taste in my mouth from that experience.
Yeah.
I think GICs could be okay. I think you should like think about where you expect inflation to go, because you're locked into GICs, are you not?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's probably not a great time to invest right now, but.
But I'm trying to say that over the next 13 years. There's no reason. There's no reason to think this is just going to be a 2-month thing. This could be.
Whenever I see these articles where they say, "Oh, this company is really overvalued right now," they never actually show what they think it should be valued.
Okay.
So it's like when you're looking at these tech companies, at what point do you say, "Okay, that's a fair value"? I guess we would just have to do the valuation ourselves.
Well, I mean, as an accountant, you'd have to audit the company, but you can just do it simply like, are they using the price to equity ratio to determine if the company's overvalued? So yeah, like then you can just math it. Like,
oh yeah, just math it.
Fuck you, dude. like because you have all the variables. You can just math it.
Yeah.
Like if the industry average price to equity is 2, for example.
Yeah, it's the basic finance stuff we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a lot of stuff. How does it work when you also bring in their subsidiaries?
How does what work when you bring in subsidiaries?
So, do you have to do, because you would have to see what the actual value of the subsidiaries are? Because is the subsidiaries value accounted for when you take the value of the parent company?
When you're auditing?
When you're evaluating a company. How does it work with?
But evaluating in what sense?
So, like, if I'm trying to find the value of
what a stock should be.
Microsoft
stock.
Yeah, what it should be.
You should. I think you included. You have to include the subsidiaries.
Yeah, but if you just look at the information they've given to you, but all of their information is inflated as well, then wouldn't you have to evaluate the subsidiaries first to see what the fair price for those would be, and then bring it into You know what I'm talking about? Or am I...
How are the numbers inflated? Who inflated
like
them?
the you know how we're talking about if the price is overvalued.
Yeah.
So would that overvalued, like how does it work when you price it into, like, because it's already overvalued. The subsidiaries are overvalued, bro.
Dude, what the fuck? What are you talking
If
about?
if a subsidiary, oh my god, bro. If the subsidiary is overvalued.
Okay. Let's take a step back. I'm lost. We're trying to Warren Buffett it. We're trying to evaluate the
maybe
stock
I don't
price.
understand how subsidiaries work.
Okay.
So if you are a parent company and you buy another company,
Yeah.
how does the profits of that company affect your company? Right? Because what's the point of buying it if it's not making the main company more valuable? It is.
It is.
So-
all the subsidiaries' assets belong to the parent company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you take the value of the subsidiary company, is that something that affects the value of the main company, or is it only the assets and the profits of the subsidiary company that affects the value of the main company?
Can you repeat that?
Oh my god.
Can you repeat that, please?
Okay, because if you overvalue the company, it
Yes.
means you haven't accurately determined.
By a market a
Yeah.
price to equity ratio, for example.
It means you haven't accurately determined what the assets and the potential profits of that company are.
No.
What do you mean, no?
If I say a company is overvalued based on price to equity ratio, all that means is that.
Well, no,
if you
I'm
look
saying
at-
in general, like with the stock price, because usually stock price is supposed to represent what people think that company is worth based off of what it's potentially going to make, including what it's making, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Compared to historical stuff and all this sort of stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if it's overvalued, it means that they've screwed up the evaluation because it's not accurate.
Well, I mean, there are market forces. It just means people are. You mean when you say they, you mean the collective,
Yeah,
every
the
investor?
collective, yeah.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Whoever's
They've-
setting the price, which would be the collective, I guess.
Yeah, because it's a market.
Yeah.
So sure, you can say that collectively the market is not valued the company
Yeah.
correctly.
So then when you go to value the parent company,
As an investor, like as someone who wants
as
to
the
buy
collective
a stock.
who
As the collective?
evaluates the parent company,
Yeah.
how much, like when they factor in the subsidiary,
Yeah.
are they factoring in what the market thinks it's worth, or are they only factoring in the profits and the assets and the debt of the company? Right? Because if you were to then try to evaluate that parent company yourself as an individual, would you first have to evaluate the subsidiaries in order to get an accurate picture of what they're worth before factoring that into how you evaluate the parent company? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So if you wanted the market to work like auditors, you would have to evaluate. You can evaluate them both at the same time. It doesn't matter, like 100% of the assets and liabilities, or actually, like there might be like what happens if a subsidiary goes bankrupt? I don't think the parent company may not be liable to everything.
It's the same the other way around, because I was looking at it yesterday.
Yeah.
If a parent company, I think it depends on what kind of connections there are between the parent company and the subsidiary, because the subsidiary is not necessarily liable for the debt of the parent company, I don't think.
So if you were evaluating like an auditor, you would use it. You would not use the market value. You'd use its book value.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But like we're talking about like how would the market collectively evaluate it? They don't. I don't think people do that.
Yeah. No, I'm saying you don't think individuals evaluate companies?
No.
I think people do evaluate to try to see what an accurate price would be.
I don't think people like.
I think really high-level investors do it.
Okay, sure. Yeah, maybe. Well, I
You
mean,
and
how
I
would
aren't-
they?
aren't-
Like
well, you would have to use
you'd
annual
use their
reports,
annual reports. Sure.
quarterly reports, right?
Sure. But like if
and
you
historical data as well, probably.
It seems to me that if we think these companies are overvalued and these major institutions continue to buy them, then they're not really valuing them properly based on that. Because they're like, if you look at the tech sector, there's also growth. Like those are growth stocks. So
Yeah, but that's factored in based off of what people are projecting their sales to be, right? Whenever people are saying growth, they're just projecting sales. and then factoring that into the price.
But like, you had a time when Amazon didn't turn a profit for like a number of years.
Yeah.
How I don't think people were accurately projecting their growth. I think they just had a vibe that they were gonna make a lot of.
Vibe.
Yeah, I think they had a vibe. Like,
no, people were projecting because they weren't making money because they had such high costs because they were trying to grab such a large portion of the market all at once, right? And so people were projecting that once they had successfully grabbed such a large portion of the market like they have now, then they would be able to make enormous profits and sort of compensate for the debt they had taken on originally. Isn't that how it works, or am I missing something with that? You know what I'm talking about, or not really?
not really.
Because I was under the assumption that these big companies that don't make a profit early on, the reason for that is specifically, not all of the time, but a company like Amazon, it's because they're trying to make as big a push for market share as they possibly can early on, and being super aggressive as quickly as they possibly can be.
Yeah,
and that's
sure.
why the profits are not there until later. And
Yeah,
so when people
some
are
of those companies
evaluating,
also operated a loss. Like,
well, yeah. Like Tesla operated a loss for a long time too.
yeah,
didn't
so
they?
did and maybe still do. But I know that Uber operated and maybe continues to.
And that's another example of them trying to take as large a market share as possible, right?
Do you want to circle back to the question about? So no, not all the subsidiaries' balance sheet items go directly on the parent company's balance sheet. Instead, the parent company's consolidated balance sheet includes the assets and liabilities of the subsidiaries under its control. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you keep talking. I gotta Google.
I don't necessarily understand how that works. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to research it more. It seems like the interaction between parent company and subsidiary is maybe pretty complicated. I imagine it would depend on where you are as well, like the laws in different states or in different provinces. Well, I don't know if different provinces or just be Canadian federal law would talk about that. Right? Would different provinces have different expectations around
for what?
Around subsidiaries and parent companies, or would that be a federal thing? I guess.
No, probably it's a provincial thing.
You think? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because there are different rules for incorporating in different provinces.
Okay, yeah.
But they may all align, but they're all set provincially, I believe.
Okay.
Generally, a parent company is not directly liable for the debts of its bankrupt subsidiaries. Each company is a separate legal entity. So that's interesting. So then, how do you value a parent company if it has subsidiaries then?
Yeah. Because I was thinking about it yesterday. Like, if you were trying to invest in one of these big companies, it kind of makes it much more complex, right? Because if you're just investing in a smaller, middle-sized or small cap, whatever, and they don't have a ton of subsidiaries the same way as Microsoft does, I guess that would make it much more straightforward. But at the same time, it's like, okay, if you're going to buy shares in Berkshire Hathaway, you don't need to go and look through every single one of their companies, right? It'd be like a million companies you need to look at. So I guess it's a certain level of trust you need to have.
I don't know. This AI overview tells us that to value a parent company with subsidiaries, you can either treat the group as a single entity by consolidating the financials and valuing it as a whole. But that can't be accurate. I don't think that could be accurate because we've just addressed that all the liabilities on the subsidiary's balance sheet, the parent company doesn't actually have those liabilities, right? They're not actually liable to the creditors.
Maybe the AI overview is broken.
or maybe like this is just there are inherent inaccuracies intrinsic in doing something so complicated.
Yeah.
Or treat it as a portfolio by valuing each subsidiary individually and summing the results.
Yeah, so that's like what I had been talking about earlier, I guess.
Yeah.
But I also, when I brought the Berkshire Hathaway example, that maybe is not accurate because they're not buying subsidiaries.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right, like they're buying the entire. Because they're a holding company. I guess that doesn't really count in the same way as a subsidiary does.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
So then, what's the difference between a subsidiary company and and an investment company where it's like
you
a
mean
holding
you
company.
mean a corporation that has subsidiaries?
Yeah. Like, what is the difference between that and what Berkshire Hathaway does, where they will buy like the entire company or 50% of the company or whatever? Right? What's the difference then?
That's a good question.
Is it just a legal thing, or
I mean, that probably definitely has legal connotations.
maybe there's a tax implication to a subsidiary?
I don't know. What's the difference between a holding company and a subsidiary? A holding company owns and controls other companies called subsidiaries,
Oh, okay. So they are subsidiaries.
but typically doesn't engage in direct operations, while a subsidiary is a company that is owned or controlled by a what the fuck?
Okay, so it is so all of the companies Berkshire Hathaway would buy would be considered subsidiaries then, because they're a holding company.
Yeah, I mean,
And
if it
I
holds
guess-
100% of the shares,
and
right?
they usually, I'm pretty sure, when they buy a company, they buy the whole thing.
Oh, here. A holding company is a company that owns a controlling interest, usually more than 50% of the shares. Oh, yeah. So
And a subsidiary is a company
Berk-
that is owned or controlled
yeah,
by
so
another company.
Berkshire Hathaway has subsidiaries.
Yeah,
I
so
guess.
it's basically like saying they're okay. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But what I want to
And
ask.
so what? Okay, so as long as more than 50% of your company is held by one single entity, you're now a subsidiary of that other entity, I guess. Right?
Or,
'Cause that's a
or
that's
they
a
hold the
controlling.
majority shares, I guess.
Well, that's what I meant by more than 50%. Because
Oh,
then
yeah,
that's the majority, right?
I guess it works like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to ask ChatGPT.
I had no idea that that's what a holding company did, really. I guess I just didn't make the connection between investments and subsidiaries.
Same. It's okay. I'm also dumb. You're not the only one, man. Talk about something so I can ask ChatGPT this question with no silence.
What is the question? Let's say the question out loud.
What I want to know is the consolidated financial statements an accurate way to value a parent company because the liabilities of the subsidiary are not the responsibility of the parent company.
Wait. When we were looking at it earlier, it said the parent company's liabilities were not necessarily the responsibility of the subsidiary.
No, I thought it was the opposite.
Oh, jeez. Now I can't remember what it said.
I'm pretty sure it was the opposite.
Maybe it's both ways?
Well, I guess maybe. If a parent company goes bankrupt, can they liquidate assets from their subsidiaries? What do you think? Why don't we just redefine the rules right now, man?
I'm looking up Okay, so parent and subsidiaries are separate entities with separate legal liability for their acts and omissions.
So, can you repeat that?
So generally, a parent company is not liable for the liabilities of its subsidiaries because they're considered separate legal entities. But let's see if a subsidiary is responsible for the parent company's liabilities.
So I asked ChatGPT, is the consolidated financial statements an accurate way to value a parent company? Because the liabilities for the subsidiary are not the responsibility of the parent company. So ChatGPT said, not necessarily. Consolidated financial statements combine the financials of the parent and its subsidiaries, giving a holistic view of the entire corporate group. However, they might not be the best way to value the company on its own because, one, limited liability of subsidiaries. As you pointed out, the liabilities of a subsidiary are legally separate from the parent, unless the parent has provided guarantees. However, in consolidation, all assets and liabilities of the subsidiary appear on the parent's financials, which can obscure the true obligations of the parent. Two, Non-controlling interest. If the parent doesn't own 100% of the subsidiaries, the consolidated statements still include 100% of the subsidiaries' assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenses, even though some of these belong to minority shareholders. 3. Cash flow availability. While the consolidated financials show total profit, they don't always reflect how much cash is actually available to the parent, since subsidiaries may have restrictions on cash transfers. Okay? Yeah. Interesting. Alternative approaches. Standalone financial statements, that's just looking at the financial statements of the parent company, and sum of parts valuation. This method values the parent separately from its subsidiaries, adjusting its ownership percentage and intercompany transactions. Okay, fair. So in this valuation, is limited liability of subsidiaries taken into account? So in the sum of parts valuation method, it's hot in here, man.
Yeah, man, I'm overheating. I'm gonna buy another pot.
Damn. Oh my God, they're gonna be so angry.
They're not gonna be angry. They're selling them, man.
No, I don't
That's
think
business.
so, man. I don't know.
It's got a sign saying that they're selling the pot, man.
Okay.
Wait, that's not enough money. No, that's enough money.
So does the sum of parts valuation method take into account the limited liability of subsidiaries? Yes, the sum of parts valuation method inherently considers the limited liability of subsidiaries because it values each business unit separately based on its own risks, assets, liabilities. However, here's how. Separate valuation of subsidiaries. Okay, I think we talked about that. Adjusted ownership adjustments. If the parent owns less than 100% of the subsidiary, that method focuses in only the proportionate ownership value. Okay, limited parent liability. Unlike consolidated statements, which include all subsidiaries' liabilities, the SOTP method recognizes that the parent is not automatically responsible for those debts. Instead, it looks at what the parent company can extract from the subsidiary, such as dividends, management fees, or potential sale proceeds. Oh, okay.
Cool.
Cool.
So I guess, wait, does that mean that what percentage of their debt they can cover in the event something goes bad is maybe not accurately represented if you don't understand how much they can pull from the subsidiary?
What?
Or did I not understand this because I was distracted with the pot?
It's from what I understand, it's basically saying that they just view when they're evaluating the parent company,
Yep.
they only consider the subsidiary in the sense of what the parent company can extract from them in terms of revenue.
Oh, okay.
Dividends, stuff like that. So they treat the assets as separate, I suppose.
Okay.
But let's check that because, if I bought a goddamn subsidiary, don't I own some of its assets? Does the method include...
Do you own its assets or only...
Well, if I own 50% of the company, I own 50% of the company.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is a good point, bro.
True. To include
we should just ask the 8-ball, magic 8-ball.
Ownership of the assets.
The 8-ball said very doubtful. All right, let's see. ChatGPT, give us the answer.
Yes, the sum of parts valuation method includes ownership of assets, but only to the extent that they belong to the parent company or the portion of subsidiaries that the parent owns. How it works. Directly owned assets. If the parent company owns assets directly, i.e. real estate, intellectual property, or investments, these are valued separately and added to the total valuation. Subsidiary assets. This is what we're talking about. Since subsidiaries are legally separate entities, the parent does not own their assets outright. Instead, the parent owns equity in the subsidiaries, which reflects a proportional claim to their net assets, minus liabilities. Oh, okay. All right. Sick.
All right. Nice.
This is not how the stock market values stocks. This is like an accounting perspective.
Yeah.
This is how an auditor would do it, probably.
Yeah. And I guess an auditor would be privy to more information than just the stock market would be.
True.
Right? Because as just a regular investor, you wouldn't have access to everything.
You know,
I
but I
see.
think that sometimes we get like worth confused with value. So I think when an auditor goes in and values a company, it's saying what is this all this shit worth?
Yeah.
And then like when a market does that, it's what should we value this as? Like,
Oh, okay, maybe.
so
Yeah, I suppose.
I think they're completely different fundamentally.
I don't know. I'm assuming that just either way you need to know accounting.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think
If
at
you-
least a baseline so that you can look at the annual report and have a better understanding of what the figures actually represent.
I'm
right?
sure it could help, but I'm sure that a lot of people make money in the stock market and don't know. Like you could just buy. Let's say you just bought in a video like that.
Okay, but that's speculation.
What
At that
are they?
point. That's not investing anymore.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Right.
true. I guess whenever in my head, whenever you purchase an asset on the market, like on the stock market, it's always investing.
Well, I think the more capable you are of understanding the information presented to you, the less it is that you're gambling. Because speculation is just gambling, right?
It's not necessarily gambling. Like, let's say I had a market where I did like a statistical analysis, or I had an industry, where I did a statistical analysis. Like I said, hey, the evaluation of this, or the performance on the stock market of this asset, this company A, is negatively correlated with interest rates, such that when rates rise, the company's value falls, and when rates decrease, the company's value rises. So I can prove that mathematically through statistics. Maybe I use Python to do it, okay? So that's something it's not speculation, or I mean, I suppose it's forecasting, right? Or it's, I don't know what word it is, but it's not just like, oh, let's throw it all on green. And then I can say, well, here's the current situation in the economy. Do I think that the federal bank will cut or increase rates? So, I mean, that's not just pure speculation.
To the saying causation does not necessarily represent correlation, right? I'm pretty sure that's the saying. So like just because it's showing that statistically doesn't mean it's not just a coincidence.
Okay,
right?
sure, yeah.
And so in which case, yeah, maybe it's a little bit better than a 50-50 bet, but it's still only a 60-40 bet, you know what I mean?
I guess you're right. But then, do you think that all forecasting is speculation? I guess all forecasting would be speculation.
Because I mean, like, if you were to have been doing a forecasting before Russia invaded Ukraine, all of your forecasting would have gone out, like before they invaded, all of your forecasting would have gone out the window essentially. Because who out there was forecasting, oh, Putin is going to invade Ukraine?
I think people expected it.
They expected. I wasn't really as tuned into the news back then as I am now, so I don't know. But I was under the assumption that it came as a bit of a left field thing. Like they knew he was an expansionist, but weren't really expecting him to invade Ukraine.
Yeah.
At the time, right? Maybe I'm wrong about that, but like you can't necessarily predict political events or environmental events.
Sure. Yeah. True.
Right.
So, but wait, is all forecasting speculation? I googled it.
Okay, what does Google say?
No, forecasting isn't a single speculation. It is a multifaceted field encompassing various techniques and skills requiring both technical expertise and commercial acumen.
I don't know. I guess you got to define speculating, because if you consider it to be 50-50, or is like 60-40 enough, or 70-30.
I think we're arguing about semantics, but I think it's definitely interesting.
Definitely semantics. Forecasting is fun to do anyway. Like
oh shit! Okay, no, you're right, Ryan. Forecasting is considered a technical speculation. High five, man.
High five. Wait, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's gambling.
No, you're right. It's not gambling. Well,
but I'm saying you're right.
All right. Then I'll take it.
Well, I don't know, because I guess with...
What's the price of Bitcoin, man?
Yeah, what's the price of Bitcoin? Let's see. Just confusing all this stuff. 120 went down.
Well, no, look at the 5 days.
Oh,
dumbass. Look at
up
that.
by 1.10%.
Yeah, man.
I'm still down.
Oof.
Buy high, sell low.
Yeah.
That's the crypto.
That's how I do everything.
That's the crypto play.
So that's what I wanted to. Oh, we never even got into the topic I brought up.
The first topic was such a good one, man.
Well, basically, if you look at those things, such as the Cruzmont Research P&E ratio.
Yep.
You know, it tells you, yeah, like the market may be overvalued.
Yeah.
Not financial advice.
Now,
I'm not able to give financial advice. I don't know anything.
None of this is financial advice. I'm sure they got the sense at home that we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Well, I mean,
we're very willing to learn though through AI use.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I think that everything seems expensive, so maybe it's good to just hold some cash and wait for things to come down a little bit.
Wait. Hold cash.
Well, you know what I mean. Something that's easily liquidated so that we can move it into stocks. Right?
I think, okay. I think holding actual cash. The Bank of Canada, what did they do? They cut their rates recently?
I don't know. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
they did. No, because of the trade war.
Yes. No. Just look it up. What's it say?
Well, we should know this.
Yeah, we should know this, but I do
did
not.
the Bank of Canada cut rates?
Quarter point to 2.75 4 days ago. So yeah, they cut rates a little bit.
Yeah, Canada Central Bank announced it is cutting its lending rate by 25 basis points on March 12th, bringing it down from 3% to 2.75%. This is the second lending rate cut by the Bank of Canada for 2025.
All right. Nice. I don't know necessarily.
So should you hold cash? Oh, pop quiz. Should you hold? The Bank of Canada is cutting rates. Should you hold cash?
No.
Yes. Hell yeah. High five. We got it. That's right.
Yeah.
No, you should not hold cash. Bank of Canada is cutting rates.
Unless
you need to hold cash. Like you have expenses, I guess. Yeah.
Well, unless you just don't have another option and you're just trying to take advantage of a dip.
If the Bank of Canada cuts rates, it means that the return on money is decreased because So you shouldn't hold money. You should hold.
I know, but if you're expecting to only have it for like 6 months because you think things are going to fall, but that's speculation as well, I guess. The thing is, like when they say, this person sold a bunch of shares and they're just holding cash, they're just talking about T-bills,
bonds, yeah.
T-bills and stuff like that. The problem is for us, or at least for me, I don't have
Can I go to
enough
the
money.
strip club and throw some T-bills on that shit?
You just start throwing out T-bills. No, but the problem is for me is I can't afford T-bills.
Yeah.
So I guess I would have to buy bonds. But like,
I don't even know as a retail.
do people sell parts of T-bills? Like I don't know. Can you buy
know.
shares of a T-bill?
I have no idea. Probably not.
Like, because I know those big investors, they just buy a bunch of T-bills, so they're still making some money while they wait for things to crash, and then they sell all of those things, and then they move it back into the stock market. But what is the option for small-time investors?
There are other bonds you can buy.
Yeah, I assume so.
I know there are provincial bonds, right?
Yeah.
There used to be. I don't know if there still are. But I don't know where you can buy them. Like, if I go on my Quest Trade, can I buy bonds?
You can buy it on TD's like investment platform, bonds. That's really what I need to learn a little bit more about. So, like, what should I do? What should I do when it concerns like bonds and T-bills and this sort of thing? Because I literally know nothing about it.
Me neither. But you're old now.
We're old, man. We should know
I'm an
this
old
stuff.
man. I need to know about
Pretty
bonds.
soon we'll need a walker.
Oh, back in my day,
Back in my
you
day.
used to be able to play on a Tamagotchi, and
Tamagotchi.
it used to snow in December.
Yeah, it used to snow in December. I've been complaining about that for years.
Yeah?
I wish it snowed, man. Now it's all just melted.
It doesn't even really start snowing until like January.
Yeah, it's crazy. We got like a week and a half of snow this year.
Wow. You're
If
right.
you think about it, right?
Yeah.
We had a big snowstorm and it melted immediately.
I think Canada, we're going to benefit a lot from global warming, so it's not good, but...
We will economically, maybe.
Well, I mean,
Maybe
I don't know,
not.
unless someone
Maybe
takes our shit.
Well, they keep on saying, there's that really valuable potential trade corridor way up north.
Yeah, like if people respect the sovereignty over them.
Well, that's what I was about to say, yeah.
You know that Shadow Carney was technically born in the Northwest Territories?
I didn't.
Now you know.
I wonder what it's like up there.
Oh yeah, that brings me to another thing. Shadow Carney. Listen, man. You know what? Maybe the conservatives have a point when they say that Shadow Carney is gonna. Even though I'm kind of a fan, he might like. Okay, so what they want to do, what the Liberal government under Shadow Carney want to do, is they've already scrapped the tax, the price on pollution.
Yeah.
They already got rid of it.
Yeah.
The carbon tax, but they want to. And they're also getting rid of the rebate.
Okay.
So there's one more quarter where you can get rebates, then there's no more rebates. They want to replace that with a quota system now.
What is a quota system?
So a quota system is where they put a cap on pollution. They say this is how many tons of pollution we have, and we give the businesses basically you can think of it as like a little coupon where it's like, hey, Daddy, here's my coupon for 10 tons of pollution, you know, and you're allowed to do 10 tons of pollution or less.
Okay.
And if you do more, there are heavy fines.
Okay.
And then they set up a market where we can trade each other. So if the cap for each corporation is 10 tons of pollution, and you have zero, your industry you pollute zero. In my industry, we need 20 tons of pollution. We just fuck shit up. I can buy your 10 tons of pollution at a market price.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So is that better than a carbon tax? Well, it's inherently more efficient.
What's stopping you from opening a ton of businesses, getting all the quota thing, and just selling it to?
Oh, I made it very simple. I don't think they just give it to every business.
I figured.
Yeah, I very simplified it. I'm sure there's a lot of ways they can do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it works that way.
Yeah, it would be a good scam, though.
It would be a terrific scam, not financial advice.
Yeah, not financial advice.
So a quota, when you set up the market, it's inherently more efficient than the carbon tax because there are no transaction costs.
Yep.
Because before, people in Ottawa needed to sit down and spend a lot of time thinking about what the price should be this year, what it should be next year. We don't have to do that really as much anymore. The market adjusts the price of the pollution, and all we do is set quotas.
Okay.
So it's more efficient. But it's still, consumers are still going to have the prices, because if I pollute 20 tons and I buy your 10-ton pollution quotas, my prices increase, and I spread those costs over my production, which gets passed on to consumers.
But is that
depending on the elasticity of the market?
Is it still not encouraging companies to be less pollution?
Yes.
Create less pollution?
Yeah, it still
because
does
they
that.
want to bring that price back down?
Yeah, it does that.
So then it's not really as big a problem anyways.
No,
because even though the price is getting put on the consumer, because the companies has the option of figuring out ways to be more green, to bring the price down, eventually the price will come down as they become more green.
On paper, as long as we make it work with our NAFTA part, if there's even a fucking NAFTA anymore. You know what? If there's not a USMCA anymore, then we don't even need to give a fuck about it.
I thought that was NATO.
No. So you're right. What I'm saying is the carbon tax is very unpopular because people didn't make green decisions, or in a lot of cases they couldn't, but I
find a lot of people don't know what the carbon tax was either.
Yeah, okay, true.
It wasn't advertised very effectively.
Yeah,
right?
But it does increase the price of goods, because it internalizes a negative externality, which it has to bring up the price of goods. Okay, people didn't like that. Also, they didn't understand the fucking carbon tax anyways. Also, some people were just in a completely fucked situation because they need to use natural gas to heat their homes, then they're getting punished. It's very unpopular. It's hard on farmers and stuff. But the quota system is still going to bring, it's still going to increase the price of things to internalize the negative externality. So, maybe the Liberals are trying to deceive people to be like, hey, we axed the tax, don't fucking worry about it. You know?
But you said that this is better than the other one because it's less expensive for the government.
But at the end, this one is probably better because our last administration was, pretty kind of incompetent. And, and inherently a quota system is more efficient than a tax. Okay?
So you could say that they got rid of the...
But they're also getting rid of the rebate.
Yeah.
So prices are still going to be more expensive than they would be if nothing was there, and there's no rebate. And I think maybe they're trying to not accurately communicate with people because the populace doesn't like the fact that we're putting a price on pollution. They don't fucking like that.
Okay, but would you say that it's overall a good for the country or overall a bad for the country? Long
Compared
term?
to where we... No, I support it. I'm just trying to make
No, but
the
I'm
case.
saying like, okay.
I'm just trying to make the case that maybe they're being sneaky. I'm not saying I don't support it. I support internalizing the
I
negative
don't know.
externality that is pollution.
I know, because what's the other option?
You don't internalize the negative externality.
No, what's the other option for the Liberals?
They don't internalize the negative externality.
Because don't a lot of their voters... I don't know, maybe I don't understand really about the voter base for the Liberals, but don't a lot of the people who voted Liberal voted because they wanted a carbon tax?
I think that by and large, Liberals probably, a lot of them support, maybe not necessarily a carbon, they support some type of reduction in emissions.
Yeah. I just know personally, I don't get any political advertisement that's not American politics.
Oh.
So I don't know, whether something is being advertised properly or not advertised properly, because for some reason it's all just American. What you do, bro? It's all just American stuff on my social media and YouTube and whatever.
Interesting.
Right.
Well, that's just something I thought about because
And you tend to get a lot of conservative advertisement for some reason.
I always get the conservatives trying to shit talk, shot my boy Shadow Carney.
I get a lot of conservative American advertisements. I get a lot of right wing ads.
I've never gotten
the
that.
US.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. For some reason, they think I'm American. For some reason, I don't know why.
Maybe I don't know. Are you American?
Nope. But
Do you want to be?
Hold
on, wait. There's an
screw
opportunity
that.
here, Ryan.
Screw that, bro. But yeah, I've never seen a single advertisement for Mark Carney.
It was strange. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the algorithms.
Maybe
got
they
me
just
down
assume you're going to vote for the
guy's.
conservatives.
Yeah, but I've never gotten a Polyver. Well, actually, I've maybe gotten a couple of Polyver.
I'm getting so many
before.
of them. But it's probably because...
But you also emailed them and gave them the...
This was before that.
Oh, okay.
It's probably because I've been spending hella time watching CBC's coverage of the trade situation.
Yeah. I haven't been watching live stuff, but I've been reading the articles. I only look at it once a day, the news once a day, because otherwise I'm just it stresses me out, man.
What happened to classic Trump? Remember COVID? He's like, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but we can inject a little bit of bleach and it should kill everything.
Is that what he said?
That? Yeah, he said something like
That's
that.
crazy.
Remember classic Trump? Remember Kafifi?
No, what's that?
He tweeted, he's something about coffee, but he fucked it up and he wrote Kafifi or something.
Nice.
Why don't we get classic good old days Trump? Why we gotta get this fucking maniac?
Yeah, I know. Supposedly all of the stuff he's doing is exactly what was on Project 2025. He's following it pretty much to the letter. I don't know if that's accurate or not. That's just what I heard.
I never really read into what the hell Project 20... I guess I'm going to live it. I don't need to read it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to live it.
It was not great. Project 2025, it was it wasn't the Republicans' platform.
I know, it was that crazy.
It was a far right group's platform for Trump that they made for Trump to follow.
Keep talking about it. Can I read it somewhere?
Who's that late night show guy that we were talking about the other day who's good? He's the only...
John Oliver.
Yeah, the only good late night show host. He did a whole segment on Project 2025.
Oh, shit.
It was interesting. I watched it quite a while ago, so I can't remember everything it said.
Click here
but
for a one-pager.
I remember it being very interesting and kind of horrifying at the time.
Okay. Here it is. Here's a one-page summary of Project 2025 that I found on some website. Global project against hate and extremism. Okay, I'm not saying I support Project 2025, but could these people be biased as well? Let's just read what they say. I don't know anything about this. Okay. I'm not American. I don't know. Okay. With a 100 member advisory board composed of who of extreme far right groups, including Christian nationalists and bigoted organizations with tens of millions of dollars in funding from dark money donors, Project 2025 maps out a clear plan for sweeping reforms that could erode multicultural democracy should a conservative, or quote conservative, win 2024 presidential election. Hopefully that doesn't happen. This sounds bad.
Yeah.
Spearheaded by the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025 seeks to, quote, rescue the country, unquote, from, quote, elite rule and woke culture warriors, unquote, replacing democracy with Christian-based authoritarianism. Okay. Okay. The guidelines for the first 180 days of the administration are detailed in a 900-plus page document authored by lead far-right voices. The mandate for leadership, the conservative premise calls for draconian rollbacks of sexual health and reproductive rights, LGBTQ plus equity, racial equity, public education, climate, environmental protections, all the while preferencing an exclusionary interpretation of Christianity and stripping rights from multiple communities. You know what, man? Sometimes I feel so happy like religion isn't really important in our politics at all.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord Jesus.
And you know something crazy?
What?
Part of the U.S. isn't it in the Constitution, the separation of religion and state?
Church and state.
Church and state.
Yeah.
But it's so not that way. Like it's so like meshed together in terms of like religion bleeding into the decisions
God on
that
the
are
money.
made.
God in God we trust is on the money.
It's it's all over the place. Like I have no problem with religion, but I really don't think it has any place in politics. Or I don't think it has any place in swaying decisions that are made in politics either.
I just don't want to hear about anybody's belief about anything. I mean, like, in the Bible it says that you're supposed to pray in your closet. Like, I don't care. Yeah, I don't give a fuck.
So I'm actually the opposite way. I really enjoy watching like debates about religion and different like things about religion. I find it really interesting because I notice so many areas where it's influencing people's decision making and the things they say, right? I find that super fascinating.
Yeah, true.
But like,
but when
it comes to
people
politics,
say like,
I think it needs
I
to
think
be
this because my religion says, it's like, well, I don't really like.
People get really mad too. In my philosophy class, sometimes like people get upset because of bioethics, right? So we're talking about like abortions, or talking about MAID, right? And those types of things, like with religion, is not great. Right?
Maybe the people don't know what MAID is.
MAID is medically assisted induced death. So it's essentially essentially assisted suicide.
Yeah.
Right.
Which we have.
Yes. We do. But we also we're also talking about.
Can you do MAID like? Didn't they expand it? Did they expand it to include mental health?
I think they did. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
I don't know. It's pretty strict as far as I'm aware. The regulation is pretty strong around it.
But theoretically, if I was depressed enough for long enough, I could, die.
I don't know. I know they were debating it. I think it passed, but I don't know for sure. I can't remember because it's not really something I was following that closely.
Do you want to continue with Project 2025?
If you'd like, sure.
I mean, we don't have to read it. We're going to see it.
So, yeah, we're going to see it.
Apparently, according to what you've said.
Well, look, eliminating LGBT and transgender rights, they've already done that.
Have they?
Yeah, it's like the two gender thing is against transgender.
What they've done. I only watch what they're doing in relation to the
okay, so like one of the first executive orders Trump signed when he came into office was making it so that there's only two genders. So like before, no government memorandums or services or anything could say that there was anything more than just two genders, right? Okay. Which immediately assumes that transgender doesn't exist, right? So that trans isn't a thing.
Yeah, you can't change your gender.
It's essentially saying all trans people are just mentally ill nutcases. Yeah, but not like literally saying that. But
so basically, you can't change your. I know the implication, but in a literal sense, you can't change your gender on government identifying documents.
Yeah, you can't change it. You can't ask to be referred to in a different way than he or her. Okay. You can't There's a bunch of things. I'm not super educated on all of it, but that was one of the first things he did. What's the second one?
Eradicating federal funding for DEI programs. Participation in any critical race theory or DEI initiative will be grounds for termination of government employees.
So a lot of people don't understand what critical race theory is. That's another thing John Oliver did a great segment on, critical race theory.
I watched it, I forgot.
It was all just about how people think it's talking about racism and how you need to be less racist and all this sort of stuff. And indoctrination is what a lot of people think critical race theory is.
Yeah.
But it's really just more isn't it more just talking about history? And including black people in history.
I don't know. Let's Google it. I don't want to say anything.
Pretty prevalent in in American history.
I'm not an expert. Here is Education Week. Critical is critical. Oh, fuck.
So here, I can read that. Here, go back up.
Oh, just what is critical race theory, anyways?
Critical race theory is an academic concept that is more than 40 years old. The core idea is that race is a social construct and that racism is not merely the product of individual bias or prejudice, but also something embedded in legal systems and policies. The basic tenets of critical race theory, or CRT, emerged out of a framework for legal analysis in the late 1970s and early 1980s, created by legal scholars Derek Bell, Kimberly Crenshaw, and Richard Delgado, among others. So, like,
let's read the example. Let's read the example.
Okay, a good example is when in the 1930s, government officials literally drew lines around areas deemed poor financial risks, often explicitly due to the racial composition of inhabitants. Banks subsequently refused to offer mortgages to black people in those areas.
So this is something that happened. So, like, what's the argument against? How do you argue this didn't happen?
It's because people don't know what critical race theory actually is. They think it's just indoctrination for their kids.
Oh, okay.
Right. But it's really just teaching how society has.
Yeah, this is just historical things that happen.
It's literally just history, essentially. Like, not really just history, but it's not quite what it's presented to on the media, in the media, right?
All right, okay, fair.
And so people get really angry and like, oh, blah blah blah.
All right,
don't indoctrinate my kids, but then they don't actually know what the hell they're talking about in the first place.
This is a big deal, and I've never heard anybody in Canada talk about.
It's because we don't have it here.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What do we do?
We just aren't quite as racist as they are. So it wasn't something.
Well, I mean
they're much more extreme down there.
Okay, I mean I don't know. I haven't been down there. I don't want to say.
Also,
that.
I only know Toronto, right?
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like.
I don't know what
Canada's
the education.
Canada's a big
I don't
place,
know what the
brother.
education system is like in BC or Quebec.
I also don't know what people are like in any other place. Okay, fair. Ending the point 3: ending reproductive freedom and replacing the Department of Health and Human Services with the Department of Life. Oof. Okay. But didn't they they'll give those rights to the states, or have they just completely ended it?
I don't know.
No wait, that was during Biden. That there was some. When did the states get the rights over that shit?
The Roe v. Wade thing, isn't it?
No, but that was overturned.
Well, yeah.
When was it overturned?
Isn't that something that supports that point?
No, I think I don't know enough about American politics, but I think Roe v. Wade was overturned before Trump won the presidency.
I don't know.
When was Roe v. Wade, or I don't know if that's what it's called, overturned? Who the fuck is Wade?
I don't know.
Who's Roe?
The people in the legal case, I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah, so that would have been during Biden's.
How did this get overturned?
Well, because he didn't have a majority, I guess.
It has to do with Trump put a bunch of conservatives on the...
Oh, in the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, man.
Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. What the fuck was this that overturned Roe v. Wade? Shouldn't we know? We're not American, but people should know probably what the fuck this was. It's overturned.
You know something that gets pointed to in Canada a lot? Is they say, oh, there's no limit to abortions, right? Which
have you seen the protesters?
It's a stupid argument.
Are there?
It's because the federal government made it so that you can have abortions in any trimester.
Okay.
So it could be the day before the birth. You could have an abortion.
But the federal government?
The federal government.
Yeah.
And you've already caught on to the problem.
Because the provincial government has their own rules.
So the reason why the federal government did that was so that their law never got into the way of any province's individual
provincial
law around it.
That's
right?
fair.
But the problem is, these people who argue for life, don't necessarily know the law or not willing to accurately present it because they've got an agenda, like they want to have certain things occur, and so they'll say, look, the fucking federal government is just killing babies and they're waiting until like the day before to do it and they're doing abortion super late, but then it's like it's just not accurate, right?
True. Good point, Ryan.
I don't know. That makes propaganda sense. Stuff is crazy.
Okay, point number 4, ending climate change. Oh, they're going to end climate. Let's go, dude. They're going to end climate change. Holy fuck.
No, the policies. They're ending the policies.
So wait, the ice caps is still gonna melt and shit?
Oh, it's a possibility, man.
Dude, I saw, like, if you look at the USA, like, what parts of the USA are will experience...
It's like all of it.
well, no, not all
Florida's
of it.
just going to disappear.
Oh, yeah, Florida's good donezo.
Yeah, maybe just Tampa Bay where it's like
I think Kodak is... Where's Kodak from?
Kodak Black. Let's see.
Where is Kodak?
He's from Florida.
Is he...
Kodak Black Bay from?
What the... They're going to know. He's Pompano Beach. Where is
he's
that?
from the beach. He'll be underwater, man.
Ah, fuck, that sucks. R.I.P. So, okay, let's read what they said. Okay, they're ending climate change and environmental policies by shutting down Office of Domestic Climate Policy, the Department of Energy's Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, the Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. To name a few, climate scientists will no longer be used in national security. Why? What's the point of this?
It's because right-wing people in the States tend to think that, it's just a waste of government money and it's not real, it doesn't exist, that sort of thing.
But how? How don't they see? We see that the snow.
I know, we see, yeah.
Don't they see?
They ignore. They say, it's just part of the natural cycles and all this sort of stuff.
So they don't think... I think there may be natural cycles, okay, of global warming and global cooling.
But here's my problem with that all the time.
Yeah.
Even if there is, even if that's true,
that's exactly what I'm going to say.
it doesn't mean we should ignore it.
Yeah, I know. That's what
we
I
should
was
be
gonna
doing
say.
something about it, right?
So that I also agree. There are probably global trends in warming and cooling.
Yeah, but you're a logical, smart individual, right?
Say something so I can Google this.
Oh, what percentage have?
What percentage? Oh, I want to know
what's the question that you're googling?
What percentage of Americans
don't believe in climate change?
Yeah.
I bet it's pretty high.
No way. Well, what percentage of Canadians don't believe in climate change?
I don't know.
What's the norm? What? Overall, the majority of U.S. adults, 54%, describe climate change as a major... Oh, thank God.
Yeah, that's only 54%. 46% don't think it's a threat.
No. They don't define it as a major threat, Ryan. It's just an inconvenience.
Okay, it's just an inconvenience, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, here it says 64% of adults were. So if the majority of adults are concerned about global warming, it's only 15% of Americans don't believe climate change is real.
Oh, that's small.
Yeah, that's not that big.
It's only how many million people?
It's only 15%. I think Canada, we probably have a same like.
I bet it's lower in Canada. 7%, yeah. A little lower, but we also tend to be less extreme than they are over there. And our education system's a little bit better.
These people didn't say they don't believe. They just said they weren't worried at all. So, like, I could believe it and just not give a fuck.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
It's strange because so many of my family friends don't believe in climate change.
Explain, Ryan.
They think it's propaganda and they think it's a big government conspiracy to take control of people.
I mean, like, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Also, I'm ignorant. It could be both. It could be real, and institutions can use it as an excuse to seize control of things.
Yeah.
They don't consider that?
No.
You know what, bro? That's a false dichotomy. You gotta go, you fucking losers. That's a logical fallacy. That's a false
here's
dichotomy.
the problem. Conspiracy theorists are generally not logical. Like, they don't think in logical patterns, right?
Do you want me to read this?
In my experience, at least, talking to conspiracy theorists and listening to their opinions on things.
We just have to start a conspiracy theory that climate change as a conspiracy theory is a conspiracy theory for organizations.
I've actually considered it.
And then I've
considered it to present it to my family friends. Yeah, flip them. Yeah.
They can be like, you believe in climate change? That's a conspiracy. And
I think the problem is that conspiracy theorists want to believe in the conspiracy.
Yeah,
it's not that they don't want to believe in the government, it's that they want to believe in the conspiracy.
You're not listening.
All right,
okay. You be the
so
conspiracy.
that's what you're saying, create a conspiracy.
No, you be the conspiracy theorist.
All right.
So you'll, whatever, I'll just say. you'll be like, it's a conspiracy theory that climate change is real, and I'll say, oh, you don't know. It's a conspiracy theory that it's a conspiracy theory. Actually, it goes deeper.
Well, the conspiracy theory is literally in the name global warming, because that was that the name change from climate change to global warming was funded by all these oil companies that wanted to make it seem like it was something it's not. Because climate change refers to the climate changing in either direction, hotter or colder, in like a way that's because it's the global temperature rising.
I thought it used to be called global warming, and now we call it climate
change. It was originally called climate change.
In what year?
I don't know when they originally started talking about it.
Okay.
And then it changed to global warming when on the news, these big oil companies essentially petitioned all these big news companies in the States to start calling it global warming instead, because it assumes something that's not true, right? It assumes everywhere is going to get hotter.
Isn't everywhere more or less going to get hotter?
No. So what climate change is the global temperature increasing.
So
but
that
if
means
the
hotter.
Global temperature increases, that doesn't mean everywhere is going to get hotter. It just means that overall it's going to get hotter.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And because weather patterns will change, some places that were hotter will get colder.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where?
Like, I don't know, like you know how they say, oh,
Florida's
well,
going to be gone, brother.
In my
Florida's
place,
not
it's gotten colder. You hear like in Peru, in Lima, they had hail or snow a few years ago.
Interesting.
Right? And they never had it before. Right?
Snow just dropped. Hail just dropped.
I don't know if it was, I think it was snow.
That's new hail. New hail.
They had never had any snow before. People were in the streets praying because they thought it was Armageddon. They didn't know what it was, right? And
that's
so,
funny, dude.
Because some of the people they're really poor. They have no education, right? And so they just had no idea what was going on.
Wow.
But like that's an example of a place getting colder where it was supposed to get hotter, and it was temporarily got colder. I don't know how it is now, but like, yeah. That's the conspiracy theory right there, but people don't even notice it. It's like right in front of you is the conspiracy theory, but it's, I don't know, man.
It doesn't even bother me anymore. Like, if we're too stupid as humanity to overcome this, then we just don't overcome it. No big deal. Like,
I don't think we're too stupid to overcome it, though.
Oh, bro, I think
I think we'll just be living in bubble cities. That's the conspiracy theory, bro.
But I think if there was bubble cities, I don't think your broke ass. I don't think my broke ass is gonna get in. I think
either of us, bro.
Yeah, I think we're kind of, I googled percentage of Americans versus Canadians that don't believe in climate change. This is the AI overview. I don't know how accurate this is. While a majority of both Americans and Canadians believe in climate change, a significant portion in both countries remain skeptical and outright deny the issue. Roughly 15% of Americans and 2% of Canadians don't believe in climate change.
Yeah. Yep. Anyways, we should maybe end this podcast because an hour 22 has gone by. And I have work to do.
We never got to finish all that Project 2025, but we're only on
okay. How many more points are there here?
We'll speed through them. Okay, point number 5. Slashing the Department of Justice and dismantling the FBI and replacing their traditional independence from political pressure with fair
fealty
to the administration. Okay.
That's not great.
That's, well, I mean, okay.
It's terrible.
It's pretty whatever. I guess Trump probably hates the FBI because of that shit.
If you look at it, though, so of those points, which ones have they actually done? They've done every single one of those.
Well, I don't know how much they've done with.
They replaced the director with.
Isn't that is that not standard or is that unstandard?
No, I don't think it's standard.
Okay.
Like I think they replaced the director, but they replaced him. They replaced the director with a guy who is a huge conspiracy theorist supporter of Trump.
Okay.
Right. Which is not.
So this
not
one,
a good look.
Number 1, they did. You said.
Yeah.
Number 2, I guess they're doing. I know Donald Trump said all that shit about.
Yeah, they got rid of all that DI stuff and the critical race theory.
He signed the shit with the Sharpie markers.
I'm pretty sure he's been doing it.
Okay. Ending reproductive freedom. Did they do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
So maybe
he signed so many executive orders.
I know, with fucking
so
Sharpie
few
markers.
of them actually.
I felt like a big kid. Like, what am I doing with fucking
so
Sharpie
few
markers?
of them actually got through. I think they got a lot of them got stopped in the courts.
The courts.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's why we have point number 5.
Yeah.
Point number is 5. Yeah, we're fuck the courts. We're gonna.
The point before that was a climate change one, and he did get rid of all their climate change stuff.
Okay, let me read this one.
Yep.
Purging the government of apolitical. Why? Purging government of this is apolitical, this word?
Yeah.
I'm just confused.
Yeah.
Purging the government of apolitical civil servants by firing as many as 50,000 and hiring replacements from a database of personal vetted for conservative values and loyalty. Quote, conservative LinkedIn. Oh my God. Successful candidates will undergo training at a presidential trading academy and be furnished, quote, with the insights, background knowledge, and expertise in governance to immediately begin rolling back destructive policy and advocate. Oh, so they're starting the youth.
Advancing conservative idea. Yeah.
They're starting the youth.
It's literally
okay.
the youth.
Fuck. Crazy.
And they have been doing that, man.
They started the youth.
Well, consider what Doge is. How many people are they firing
hella people.
Firing hella people.
Yeah.
And they're not conservatives that they're firing necessarily. Like, I mean, probably they're firing both.
You know what's
but
interesting?
who are they replacing those people with?
You know what's interesting? If you track the U.S. population growth with the growth of federal employees, the population has grown more than the growth in federal employees. And what that means is that the efficiency and administration of the federal government has increased with time. Just the point. I mean, obviously.
That's interesting, yeah.
I mean, like, you know.
Okay, next
this one. Eliminating the checks and... Who the fuck needs checks and balances? It's an accountant. We don't need that. Eliminating the checks and balances built into 3 branches of government in favor of expanded control by the executive branch.
And they've already said, like, was it Elon Musk that said, or...
it might have been J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance, who was saying, oh, the
legislative branch should be subservient to the executive branch.
He literally said that.
Yeah, he did say
That's
that.
literally one of their points.
Is one of these points to like invade Canada? No. Okay, so we're good. We're good. Okay, this point, second last point, replacing the Department of Homeland Security. That's with a 100,000 worker strong immigration department, militarization of the border, and an end to refugee programs. Doesn't the Department of Homeland Security do other shit other than...
Yeah, they stop terrorism within the country. A lot of the time.
So the borders are just going to stop terrorism now?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they think that if you stop people at the border, they won't get terrorist
Oh, they don't know about domestic terrorists.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, they'll find out, I guess. Fuck, I mean, I don't know.
Because I think they're,
Maybe the new FBI will take care of the domestic terrorists.
Maybe the new FBI will.
Okay. Last point. Fundamentally altering American democracy to push anti-abortion and anti-LGBTQ plus agendas. Adopt a, quote, human rights
regime.
Okay, regime distinct from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and abandon international organizations and traditional democratic and security diplomatic and security alliances. This one's bad for us.
Yeah.
Well,
it's kind of terrifying reading it. In my opinion,
be honest,
at least.
This might not be a credible source of information. Who is the global project against hate and extremism?
I don't know.
So I mean, like, I'm not saying that I agree with Project 2025. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just
Why don't we just bring up Project 2025?
Because it's very long and we want to end the podcast. Maybe next week. You know what? That's
all I know is
idea.
that all that stuff was like stuff that they were talking on John Oliver's
last week tonight
when I watched it like years ago.
When were they talking about it? Last week tonight?
Yeah, last week tonight, bro.
It'd be a good idea for the next one to actually read
even
this.
if that's not reputable,
yeah.
The fact is almost every single one of those points were things that he had done.
Yeah.
So even if they're not reputable, it's still something that's happening.
Fair.
Right? Which is crazy. It's fucking insane, man. All right. This has been...
Okay.
All right. This has been the Mostly Nonsense podcast.
I got
a lot of
coupons
nonsense
for
we talked
McDonald's
about.
now.
Yeah, let's go to McDonald's. All right. Wait, this is an American company.
Oh, but I got coupons.
All right.
Okay, bye.